Is teamwork overrated? On today's Unnamed Real Estate Podcast. Well, hi there. My name is Charles Ray Dawson. I'm an associate broker and residential sales manager of ProStar Realty. This is the Unnamed Real Estate Podcast episode. I really need to start looking at these things before that. Let's take a look at this real quick. 139. Pay no attention to what you're actually seeing on the screen, because I always change those slides after my show and everything, guys. Honestly, I don't know what to call these shows most of the time. The topic and the title comes up during while I'm talking, because anybody who knows me knows I do my best thinking with my mouth open. And so 139. So what's going on? I am running a little ragged today. I had a home inspection last night out in Buckeye. If anybody knows where that's at, that's out in the ass end of nowhere. And been going through reviews of that. I had a CE class this morning because I am up for renewing my license, and I need to get that done by Saturday. This was my last CE class, and it was covering contract law, one of my personal favorite subjects. And then rushed down here, and our agent Omar has received word that he may be shipping out. You guys have been paying attention to the saga Omar. He joined the National Guard and left for boot camp, and then went to AIT and has been trained as a forward observer, which is a really cool job. You get to blow stuff up remotely with a radio. And so he's done with all that. We finally get him back, ready to rock, and no more than 2 or 3 weeks of us having him back, he gets to call that he might be deploying in 30 days. So I'm literally waiting to see if he shows up today with a yes or no answer. So if we suddenly cut out, that's because he just knocked on the door and I need to go talk to my troops. So, or apparently somebody else's troops, depending on what the Department of Defense needs are. So that's what's going on with me. The real estate world is being the real estate world. We got some news going out. Did not have anybody settle this week on the various Department of Justice stuff. I was actually expecting somebody else to pop up on Monday, just because that seems to be the day that they were making these announcements. There was a brokerage, I can't remember the name of them, but we've talked about them before. They were the ones who were trying to get you to sign a listing agreement for 40 years. And they would discount up front their services if you would sign an agreement that within the next 40 years, if you ever did sell that house, you would use them as your real estate agent. This created a bunch of lawsuits. I know they were dealing with it down in Florida. Apparently multiple states have come in on top of this, and they just declared bankruptcy this week. Apparently their potential debt from all these lawsuits exceeds their income, and we'll see how that works out. In real estate, all people are always coming up with new and unusual things. Everybody's trying to find that secret sauce. Everybody's trying to find that, the one little thing that's going to put them heads and tails above everybody else. The CE class that I was in, contract law, mostly dealing with creative financing, seller carrybacks, wraps, various ways that people can sell houses that have something like a usual with them. It's like, hey, you want to sell the house for more than the market's willing to bear, or that the appraiser says that the house is worth. 'Cause let's be honest, right? If you have multiple offers on a house at $500,000, multiple offers right around there, you pick one, flipping a coin, rolling the dice. You liked their when they wanted to close, you liked their escrow company, something material, you decided to go with them, but you had multiple offers at a price point. The appraiser can come in there and say, I don't care how many buyers you want. Okay, according to my comps, your house is not worth $500,000. Right? That's just the way the deal works. Right? That's the way real estate works. But there are ways to creatively finance around that. All right. Could be like, and we're going to see this. All right. You have a loan. Okay. If you have a VA or an FHA loan, those loans are assumable within certain conditions. if you're selling a house and you have a loan on that property that starts with a 2, you got value there. All right. If you can get somebody else to assume that loan, right, and they'll make up the difference, it'll be valuable to the buyer, it'll be valuable to you, because now you can ask for more money. All right. Contact your local real estate agent. I'm not going to go through the entire class for you guys today, but now that being said, I do know one of our viewers who comments on these things all the time, personal emails, did allow somebody to assume his VA loan back in the day, and wound up getting sort of nailed on that one, because that person who assumed his loan wound up getting the house foreclosed on after, the seller had sold it to him. All right, so there are terms and conditions and other things you got to be made aware of before you go into one of these situations. But, done right, properly structured, with proper disclosures, you can do these things. I'd rather you just go talk to a lender. All right. What else is going on in the news today? Let's hit the numbers real quick, and then I got 2 great stories here. I want one story and the topic. So real quick. All right. The market is what the market is, and this is what the market is right now. Okay. Ran these numbers. No, not October. We're still September. Hey guys, did I change that over last time and not correct it? Seriously. Nobody called me out on that. That's on you as much as it is on me. But this is for the numbers that I ran yesterday on September 27th. All right, 2023. Actives yesterday were 12,503, up 314 from the week before. New listings were 1,862, up 20. Contracts were at 1,900. All right, down 2. Closings are at 1,423. All right, coming soon to an MLS near 671. But I want you to take a look at our Comfort Report numbers, because our supply is still trickling up at 51.7. Demand is still coming down, is now at 75.2. And our Comfort Report numbers is 145.5. So that's what we're looking at right now. Let's keep an eye on this, because you can see how it's breaking down within our various markets, right? We now have 4 arguably balanced markets out there. Buckeye, where I was just at last night, Goodyear, Maricopa, and Queen Creek. All right. Out of those, Queen Creek is the lowest on the board at 95.5. Still technically a Comfort Report number for a balanced market, but it's dropped 9 month over month. It's trending down. New one who just joined that list, Buckeye. A month ago, they were at 120. Now they're at 107. Remember, 110 being the cutoff there. And except for Cave Creek, and nobody knows what's going on with Cave Creek, although we have 2 separate phone calls into the office on one of our Cave Creek listings from people in Scottsdale who want to move to Cave Creek. How's that for interesting? All right, which might be why Scottsdale's starting to drop down. I don't know what Scottsdale's has been doing to scare people off to Cave Creek. I don't know why people want to go to Cave Creek. I should put some more look into that. But look at Chandler. Chandler is still leading the pack at 226, but a month ago they were at 305. Right, so a 305 is like a 3 buyers for every property ratio. Right, now we're at 226. That's like a 2 and change for every, and they've slid down 26%, but they're still definitely still a seller's market. It's just starting to slide down. All right. So, and that compares to what we've been seeing across the board. All right. New home loans applications have dropped down in August. I really hate the way the National's always talking about a month ago. But I'm getting that report from my lenders. The new home purchases, those rates just keep going up. We're now talking 8s. I got lenders who are telling me that they're reporting 8s based on people's credit scores. Remember, your number will be different based on your debt to income ratio, your credit rating, and you specifically. But it keeps tracking up. We did not get the Fed bump or the Fed rate hike, but treasuries are still, the yields are still moving in the wrong direction for us on that. So it's going to get worse before it gets better. When is it going to get better? Really don't know. If I knew, I'd be shorting things. All right. But what we're looking at on this is, I was going to do this. All right. I was going to work this chart up for you, and give me just a second. Okay, and we're back. And if any of you guys ever want to know what my screen looks like, that's what it looks like. All right. So, I thought I had saved these 2 pages, but okay. If you are out there under the age of 40, all right, get away from anything you want to throw that you might wind up throwing at the computer screen. All right. If you're holding your phone, put your phone down. Okay. You can still prop it up so you can watch this video, right? But you don't want anything in your hands. All right. I follow a lot of Facebook real estate pages, and inevitably, when anybody out there under the age of, let's say, 55 is complaining from interest rates, this person is going to pop up. All right. I'm surprised they even know how to use Facebook, but they're going to start talking about how their first home that they bought was at a 12% interest rate and blah, 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 blah. And we got along fine. You kids just need to pull yourself up from your bootstraps. And even I am starting to get personally sick of hearing that. All right. It's like, yeah, okay. But you also didn't have fill in the blank. So I just decided to do a little bit of research. Right? And what I'm looking at is home affordability comparative to that. All right. So I found 2 charts, and they were both from government sources. So, okay. And it was home affordability today and the interest rates compared to 1982. All right. Home affordability today, these numbers are all coming out of my mind right here. I'm trying to remember this, is like at 7.1 ratio, which means your median house price, all right, is 7.1 times your median household income. File that number away. In 1982, when interest rates were in the 12s, all right, that they're talking about, that ratio was 4 point something or other. So if you wanted to buy a $200,000 house, your median household income was going to be $50,000. Now, back in 82, they weren't making $50,000 a year. That was a great, and a $200,000 house was a McMansion. But you get the ratio, okay? We've almost doubled that ratio of home prices to household income. When you add on top of that, what's a historical normal? Remember, kids, the historical normal is 7.7. That's a big delta. That's a big change, and that's a very, very large impact. So next time that family member or person in the line starts talking about, well, my first interest rate, you slap them across the face and get, hey, yeah, and you also had an affordability index of 4 point whatever. They won't know what you're talking about, but you'll know because you watched this podcast. All right. Once again, all right, it's not going to be a drop in house prices. It's not going to be a raise in income. All right. It's not going to be a reduction in interest rates. It needs to be a combination of those 3. All right. And we can get the drop in home prices by just having a normal 2% appreciation with a greater than 2% cost of living adjustment or raises. In fact, I was thinking about this yesterday, that part of the, if you guys don't know it, United Auto Workers is having a strike right now. One of their arguments is we forego raises for multiple years to help the company out during the COVID. And now that that is all over, we expect to get that back because you guys are buying back stock and giving yourself bonuses. I'm sympathetic to that because I worked in IT back post 2000 when we had a little correction in the IT world and things got a little rough, and we employees of a certain title company, they'll go nameless, weren't getting multiple years of cost of living increases. Oh, things are really bad right now. We don't want to have to let anybody go. All right. And then when they finally did turn that spigot on, we got a grand spanking 3%. We had just lost 3 years consecutive in a row. Now, remember, kids, what's the most important, most powerful force in the entire universe? Compound interest. All right. You get a 2% this year, and you get another 2% the next year. That 2% the next year includes 2% of the 2% you just got. All right. So at that particular phase, if you go 3 years without your 2% cost of living increase, right, you're now down 6. And when they give you 3, they're not even making up halfway because then you didn't have the increase on top of your previous year's increases. Make sense? All right. So when we start seeing incomes, wages start going up as we resource manufacturing here as other things start going on. All right. As long as that keeps increasing higher than the home appreciation, we'll start seeing a balancing there. And when we start seeing the interest rates come back down. So that's my quick and easy fix to take care of this thing in the least painful way for everybody. All right. Not that everybody likes to go that route, but so editorial aside, last bit, what I wanted to discuss is teams. The other side of my transaction that I was doing the home inspection that agent has a transaction coordinator. Right? I don't have a transaction coordinator because I don't need a transaction coordinator. Transaction coordinators are the people who handle all the paperwork in the background. So the real estates can go out there and show pretty kitchens and market themselves on TikTok. Right? Transaction coordinator is one who makes sure the documents get signed on time. Sometimes they'll help you write up the contract and everything. I'm a little bit too anal to be able to hand out that kind of stuff to a third party. You know, I want things done my way, and I want to know they're done, and I have trust issues. All right. So if I want to make sure something's done, I do it. All right. But these transaction coordinators they're really, really useful. All right. For high volume agents. And they're also really useful for brokers. Right. If you are a broker running a brokerage, it might behoove you to have a transaction coordinator running herd on all that documentation. Why? Because your job as a broker is supposed to be to review every document to make sure it's done correctly and sign off on it. Every contact that we have out there, and I really wish I had one that could reach out and grab you, has this little block in the bottom for broker use only. And that's the broker signing, I read this on this date. Right. I know this to be correct, right? Because remember, in Arizona, agents work, for brokers. But if I'm a broker and I have a transaction coordinator, well, I don't have to, if Jess sends it over to me and says it's good, I know it's good. All right. Hell, some places they might even let that transaction coordinator hit that with a broker signature, even though they're not supposed to do that. And I'm not saying anybody does that, but if I can think it, they can do it. So these transaction coordinators, when you go and you're reading this book right here, Millionaire Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller or Keller Williams, national bestseller, and this is probably the 3rd or 4th edition he's come out with, he actually tells you that's the first person you hire when you need to expand. You hire yourself a transaction coordinator, right? Offshoring, taking that paperwork side of your job and moving it over to a third party. Makes a certain amount of sense. All right. There are certain jobs out there. If you're more valuable out on the street shaking your moneymaker, you don't want to, become off the street to do the paperwork. Right? The next step up from that, from having your transaction coordinator, is then we start working in the teams. Now, if you're driving down the road and you see a sign, all right, you might see the such and such team, right? Gary Williams team, whatever, your Gary Keller team, whatever. There's actually a Dawson team here in town, and I'm sort of annoyed by that. All right, but these teams, when you interact with them, as a real estate agent, I hate working with the team on the other side. All right, because they're all sort of pigeonholed into their particular job, and nobody can think outside of their little box, and they're not encouraged to think outside of their little box. All right, so if I'm trying to call the agent, all right, they might keep routing me over to the listing coordinator. No, I want to talk to the agent. I want to talk agent to agent. I don't care if you're licensed. I don't care if you're on the team. All right, I want to talk to that person. And a lot of this seems really, really silo the communication. When drama happens, you don't want a team on the other side. Seriously. All right, I have had teams do some pretty shady stuff on my listings or on my, because, hey, we're the so-and-so team. What are you going to do about it? I guess I could file a complaint with the department, but hey, I know your brokerage and how big of a team you are, and I know that the department may not actually take any steps against it because back in that day, the department didn't really follow up on these things. But these teams can be incredibly useful for an agent, okay, to build a team once their volume of work has gotten that big. They're also, in my not so humble opinion, incredibly predatory when it comes to brand new real estate agents. Incredibly predatory. All right. We're talking commission splits. If you're on a team as a new agent and you're putting 25% of the gross commission that got paid to your brokerage in your pocket, you probably did pretty good. Because not only is the broker taking a cut, that team lead's taking a cut, and so on and so forth down the line. But teams are also really encouraged to recruit consistently. They'll have buyer specialists who are going to be out there showing you pretty kitchens and stuff like that. You're going to have the listing coordinators, listing specialists who are out there to get the listings taken care of, get them photographed and cleaned up, and this and that and the other thing. So they do have a lot of resources at hand, and the consumer might want to come on to a team or go to a team just because they know they have all those resources. But ultimately what they're doing is they're breaking out the job that an individual agent out into little modules, and every little minion works their little part of the piece and everything. But it's the article that I was reading here, Who Makes More Solo or Team Agents, that got me thinking about this as a topic. Because if you are a brand new agent, and we just got 2 more people coming on as of last Friday, they've decided to come on. So neither one of them are brand new agents, but both of them are less than a year. And one of them is working for a team, or has been working for a certain brokerage in town who's very team-like. All right. And they were both complaining, no training, no support. I had a transaction many, many years ago with a team member who was selling his mother-in-law's house. Team lead had nothing to do with bringing this work in. Broker had nothing to do with bringing this work in. Gave him no support during the transaction. Not even a, hey kid, you're doing good, or not any, hey, how do I negotiate this? Well, this is how I'd come back. Nothing. And we took them to the cleaners when it was all said and done. Right? And not in a particularly adversarial way. Making the ask and him not knowing when to say no. All right? Or him not realizing maybe we should renegotiate something out. Not knowing that. His team lead should have been telling him, hey, this is how you do this. This was his first listing. 0 frickin' support. And at the end of the day, he paid his broker and he paid his team lead for no support. All right. And a reduced commission because it was family. All right. So if you are getting into real estate and you're not in the Arizona area, because if you are getting in the Arizona area, you're calling Ray. All right. And you want to go that team route, you really want to make sure you're going with a strong team with a good experience. And just understand, it's not in the team lead's best interest for you to become an exceptional independent agent because they've just lost a revenue source. Remember the brander I was talking about earlier who was told by her mentors, never train your competition? Right? Team leads should be, leaders are trying to train people to exceed them, be better than me. All right, that's my personal opinion, but I was in the Marines. All right, that we have a tradition going back more than 200 years. All right, that we try to train our people to be better than us. All right, so maybe that doesn't work too well in real estate, but hey, that's the way Ray does it. So rant over. 23 minutes. I hope I told you guys something entertaining and knowledgeable, this and that and the other thing, without giving away too much or anybody's individual information. So that being said, guys, thank you very much for watching. I had a really great idea for what I wanted to do this week and ran out of time to do it because that's going to take some research. But a great presentation that I've been promising you guys since like day 1 may actually happen one of these days. So, but while you're waiting for that presentation, okay, watch children, pets around water. Don't drive into anything flooded. Work your circles. Have a great weekend. Catch you next week.